Mr. Eric Kipling. Thank you for being on the Share Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We entered and we were like 8th grade weird
Yeah.
phase.
Mhm.
You teach 8th grade.
I do.
Any
Yeah.
other, and what do you teach?
8th grade social studies, and then the 7th and the 8th grade tech ed classes.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
This is my 16th year of teaching.
All at Spring Lake?
All at Spring Lake. 3 in the intermediate school, and then, well, it would be the 13th year in the middle school.
Is that straight out of college?
Yep.
Where'd you
Yep.
go?
I went to Central, and then I student taught at Holmes
Oh.
Elementary, with Mary Cotterall.
Uh-huh.
And at Central, I played baseball, and I grew up in Indiana. Yeah,
How'd you get up to Central? I mean, they recruited you? Was it a recruitment thing, or how did that
it
happen?
was. There was actually another guy on my summer team in high school that they were recruiting, and it's funny how it worked, because they were there to recruit him, and I happened to be pitching, and there was dark storm clouds. It was like it was like a movie, but there was dark storm clouds everywhere except like one little bubble above the field. And they drove from Central to Fort Wayne, so a 3-hour drive to recruit. He was our leadoff hitter, and I was the starter, so I got 3 outs
Yeah.
pitching, so they got to see me pitch. And then he was the leadoff hitter, and he hit a double. And then when he got to second, and I'm not kidding, when he stepped on second base, it unloaded, and lightning and rain, and we got rained out.
Wow.
So we got just enough to have them see us,
Yeah.
and we both got offers, and we were roommates our freshman
Did you?
year.
You both
Oh,
went.
that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you pitched for
We
Central
did.
Michigan.
Yeah,
All 4 years.
all 4 years. Yeah.
Education.
Yep.
When was that interesting to you? I mean, like, did you want to be a teacher when you were in high school? Or?
My dad was a teacher,
Okay.
and he taught cabinet making and all the building trades. And so I always saw that and kind of thought it was neat. Just, but like many, like our beginning of our conversation, middle school, high school, it was like, education is school.
Yeah.
And then when I got into college, I was going to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a semester worth of science classes and figured out after I got my report card that semester that I didn't want to be a doctor. So then I actually was going to do secondary education. And some of the, because my degree is K-8 now, and so the secondary education would be 7th through 12th grade. And so then I did 3 minors. Central had a program where you could get 3 minors and then take all 3 tests, and then you could teach any of those subject areas up to 8th grade. So
cool.
So I had math, language arts, and history, so I could teach any of those subjects. It made me marketable out of college.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
worked out.
Did you have any defining teachers from any grade that made an impact on you, that sort of inspired you more when you got into the field?
Both, probably my middle school and my high school U.S. history teachers, actually. I don't know, I didn't think of that until I was teaching, but now that I look back, those were the classes that stuck with me. The things we learned was sticky. I like to tell my students that if you learn something and it stays with you, then it's sticky. So we're trying to do as much sticky stuff in class as we can.
What makes a piece of knowledge sticky?
Something for me, I think of, you go on family vacations and you go to events and concerts and you experience something. If you're on a team and you play a game, or you're in a program and you're at a performance, if you experience it, it becomes sticky. If you hear it, it's kind of like that. There's a quote that says, tell me and I'll forget something else, and let me live it or experience it and I'll remember. And so we do a lot of simulations and court trials and we do things where they experience the history.
There's been an evolution of you as a teacher.
Yeah.
Where would you say that like happened, or what spurred that? Or
I think it's a blend of numerous things. I think it's a blend of having kids myself and seeing all the different changes and just kind of the curiosity and wonder. And then that made me want to bring curiosity and wonder into the class, and then I had to figure out how to do that, but still kind of check the boxes as I went as the teacher. A group of us kind of dove off the pier into using devices in the class. And that made me kind of start to see, I didn't know what it was called yet, but it made me start to see that the mindset that really fits me is the growth mindset, and it's not something that's fixed, and that learning something that constantly it can always be added. We can always grow. It's not something that we are born with. Oh, you were born smart, you'll always be smart. Oh, you weren't born smart, so you don't have a chance. Everybody has the ability to learn, maybe more uniquely than others, though. I started to see, this sounds bad, but I started to see my students as other people's babies rather than students in my class. There was more of a connection right away without knowing them at all. Maybe the responsibility to learn with them and be okay with, yeah, I'm not sure. And then the devices helped say, I'm not sure. I don't know, you're the one with the device. Why don't you look it up, let's find out. And it's a let's together instead of, I don't know, I already know the answer, but you can figure that out. No, I don't know.
yeah,
And a lot of it's genuine, I don't know the answer,
yeah,
which is one of the most fun, rewarding, exciting parts of the job.
And you mentioned bringing curiosity in the classroom while also balancing the having to check off like
Sure.
the curriculum and everything. When, if ever, is it a better choice to sacrifice that check over benefiting the child with their own curiosity?
Personally, I would say as much as humanly possible. The check is find a curiosity about the event, the time period, the type of writing, the type of reading, to find the curiosity, and then it becomes something that's sticky. Because if it's not interesting at all to you, I could check the box and you get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually check the box. So all the time. I mean, I guess the easiest answer is all the time, that the checking of the box and the teaching of the curriculum should be second to sparking their curiosity and then having students want to know more about it.
And you mentioned failing forward. Has there ever been a time, like in your own life, maybe in college or high school or in teaching, that you've failed and then benefited from it?
In baseball, as I was a pitcher, so if you act like you know everything and you kind of have it, you know, being at a Division I school, and I was a pitcher, and I was one of the top 5 or 6 guys in a really good baseball program. It was like, yeah, I got it, I'm good. I don't really need a lot of coaching.
Yeah.
And then I failed, and when you fail, it's ugly. So you get beat up, and a lot of hits are off of you, and the results are bad. But then when I started to ask the hitters on my team what they think and how they think through an at-bat, then I started to think like them rather than thinking like the pitcher. I was thinking that's the easiest way to get out a hitter is if I'm thinking like a hitter. And then when I would get a hit, you could see that I got in their head and I was thinking like them. So then I started to listen to him and think like a hitter more than thinking like a pitcher who knew everything.
Yeah.
that's in essence is what we're trying to do with the podcast, which is trying to see it from another perspective.
Yep.
Just understand a person from his or her own perspective.
Thinking like a student. I mean, that's a thing that,
Yeah.
as we're talking now, I think that's something that clicked with me, and was able to, I saw this as a great quote, would I like sitting in my own class? Would I like to take my own class as a student?
When you went into college, your first semester was focused on being a doctor,
Mhm.
and with all the seniors sort of like really focused strenuously on college right now, do you have any advice for whether it's major picking or choosing where you want to go or anything about college in general?
Probably not keyhole yourself into a major yet, but because most universities are still set up where the beginning of your time, you have these university requirements that are general courses that you have to fulfill these requirements, and then they allow you to then begin working yourself into a major. You don't have to know, certainly not when you're in high school. You don't have to know that yet. It gives you that leeway to do what I did and realize, oh, good, that's not what I want.
Fail forward.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being on the Share Chair. And
Thank you.
awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Eric
you.
Kipling.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Share Chair. Stay tuned next week for a new one. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter for regular updates at The Share Chair. And if you're interested in having a piece of your writing or an experience shared on the podcast, contact Elise McGannon at 203-505 at springlakestudents.org.